I take this as a point of personal privilege. You know, the alphabet goes from A to Z. And I always used to interpret it from Adante to Zarrella. Now, we talk about the sons of Italy, but we don't talk about the sons of the sons of the sons of Italy. And that's what we're going to get tonight. I knew Mario, his father, and my father knew John, his grandfather. And I'll tell you, a lot of people in Fitchburg, we should have called them the sons of the Patch division of the sons of Italy. Because without Adante and Zarrella, they wouldn't have walked and they wouldn't have eaten. We kept them short, we kept them fed. And sometimes on the cuff, and sometimes those cuffs were paid for, but we still took care of them. So tonight, to see John, the son of Mario, to be here as a guest speaker, gives me a sense of joy that's unique, because what our grandparents and parents went through, we had it easy. They gave us the war. The war gave us the Bill of Rights, and it also gave us the committee to go to college on Uncle Sam's money. But this generation, that we think had it easy, they have to get a 3.8 scores to get into college. They have to spend $40,000 a year tuition. What are we doing for them? And they're doing it. So they got a tougher job than our grandparents had. So I want that we should respect them and help them in every way we can. I wear purple tonight because it's Columbus Day. And the Sons of Italy asked us to wear purple on Columbus Day. You know, there's another group of people who wears green on St. Patrick's Day. And Patrick was a Roman. So come on, guys, let's wear our purple. John, give the stuff.
Boy, if I wasn't feeling pressure before. All right. Bob, I want to thank you because I'm going to start with a quote, and I was feeling a little skittish because this quote isn't from an Italian. And I said, is this the right place to be using this quote? But it's all right now. So I'm reading a biography right now. It's on Standard Oil, John D. Rockefeller. And one of the references in the book comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Again, not an Italian. And Emerson said, an institution is the lengthened shadow of one man. What I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to massage the heck out of that and make it fit with my talk. So, as these guys told you, the Sons of Italy came into being more than 100 years ago. Figli d'Italia. It was founded by a small group of well-meaning immigrants who were trying to create a support system for all Italian immigrants that would assist them with becoming U.S. citizens, provide health and death benefits, give them educational opportunities, and offer assistance with assimilation in America. Those aren't my words, that's right off the website. But again, it fits nicely for me because I want to talk about well-meaning immigrants, looking out for each other, trying to put in place benefits and opportunities that would help all Italian immigrants to improve their lot, create a life for their families that was better than what they came from. Now, Margaret here was going to give a speech that was 15 or 20 minutes, and I told her I'm kind of a chiacchierone and that she'd give me some of her minutes. So, one thing you're going to get tonight, you get a little bit of Godfather references. I like the movies, it's an easy thing to touch. And I'm going to start out, I don't know if any Godfather fans here, God, I hope so. When Luca Brasi is waiting to go and see the Godfather right before he goes into the wedding, and he's waiting for an audience and he's practicing his speech, and he says, and may their children be a masculine child. And he doesn't sound too smart when he's talking. Well, that's how I feel now in thanking you for the honor of speaking before you tonight. Let me try this. Questo onore non solo per me, ma per tutta famiglia. Anyone who actually understood that? It's too bad. I'm not going to try that again. It's a great honor, not only for me, but for my family, that you've invited me to speak to you tonight. Italians want to bring honor and respect to our families. And I struggled with, what am I going to say to these people? Anything that I can share with you has its root in family. Yeah, we Italians wear clothes. Big deal, big shot. What are the surprises you got for me? And the truth is nothing. I have no new surprises for you here tonight. I do have an idea that maybe can help us make some money. Someone brighter than me is going to have to take it and run with it. You guys all know the Four Dummies books. You guys have all seen the Four Dummies books. You can get piano for dummies. You can get cooking for dummies. There's even the Catholic Mass for dummies. My favorite tonight is Italian for Dummies. That's where I get that translation. Stupid book. So I'm thinking Italian Grocers Guide to Business for Dummies. Or Life's Lessons Learned from Italian Grocers for Dummies. Something like that. We're going to do some Italian bookmaking. My notion of Italian heritage is all about connections. Connections to past generations, but also, as we've talked about tonight already, to future generations. I'm not a historian or a sociologist, so there's no deep stuff here, but someone can make a book out of this. I'm going to tell you I'm feeling some pressure tonight. Somehow I have it in my head, don't you go offending these nice Italians. I've spoken at many conferences in my industry over the years. I've spoken at church, usually to ask for money. I even roasted Father Bob in front of the bishop 3 years ago, and let me just say, wow, that was easy. I've never really felt a lot of pressure or nerves. So I asked, what do you want me to talk about in front of the Sons of Italy? Well, talk about your Italian heritage. Talk about the patch. What the heck am I going to tell you guys about Italian heritage? I learned it from you. Today, my pressure is I've got Dr. Adanti sitting over there, who I have grandissimo rispetto for. I've got my sister sitting over here, who's wondering what I'm going to ask you, why it's the sons of Italy and not the sons and daughters of Italy. And I've got my wife already ticked off at what a bear I've been in preparing for all of this. And having to sit at the head table, she doesn't do the head table well. I've got pressure. I want to walk out of this room with no curses and no malocchio. All right, so who is this guy? First of all, thank you for the kind introduction. My families are from Sicily and Naples, a mixed marriage. My grandparents on my mother's side were Francesca and Anna Salona. On my father's side, John and Angelina Zarrella. As Bob said, my company is Research Results. We're a marketing research company in Fitchburg. Coincidentally, I'm in the same building where Nick Mercadante used to work out of, and at one time, Dr. DiGeronimo. So I'm drawing on some good Italian karma there. What do? Our biggest client is CVS Pharmacy, and we probably do 95% of the survey work that they do. The next time you leave a CVS store, look at your cash register receipt, and if it asks you to take a survey online, that's us. Please go do that. You get CVS Extra Care bucks every time you fill one out. Cha-ching for you, cha-ching for me. What else do we do? We do all the audience research for Fox TV on American Idol. I've never watched that show. I assume there may be some fans here. But a lot of the decisions that they make about that show are based on the work that we do. I don't know if any of the ladies here are Days of Our Lives fans, but all of their audience research goes through us. I can tell you what's going to happen on that show for the next 13 weeks. But I won't. I wish for this next part I could show you some kind of a genealogy chart behind you so that you could see, through my business experience, some of the Italian sponsorship, the extended Italian family at work, helping me to make it through in business in my career so far. So let me start out with my grandfather, John Zarrella came to this country somewhere around 1915. He served in World War I, and I'm told that one of the things that really defined him was an intense pride in America. He was very involved in Italian-American war veterans and with several other Italian organizations. The way I understand it, he was somehow associated for a while in the grocery business with Louis and Joe Carboni and a Mr. Ricciardi. One anecdote from the Zarrella-Carboni relationship. I'm assuming some of you here know Kevin Caravella, either directly or maybe through his grandmother, Anna Carboni, or his mother, Linda. 6 years ago, Kevin took on the task of recording St. Anthony Church history for the 100th anniversary of St. Anthony Parish. Somehow, and thank God for that somehow, I got involved in that project. And I was privileged to work with Kevin for more than 3 years on that project. 2 reasons I'm bringing that up. Number one, at the time I was unaware of the bond from more than 90 years earlier that linked our 2 grandfathers in the grocery business. Number two, get ready, here's the advertisement. We're about to start another project. Kevin has applied for a grant with the Fitchburg Cultural Commission so that we can undertake our next project, which is loosely defined right now, will be a history of the patch. Stay tuned for more info, but if you want, you can go to www.quattrofilms.com for some info. I can promise you this, anything that Mr. Caravella takes on will be a first-class project, and it'll take an awful lot of help from a lot of you in this room tonight. Okay, so John Zarrella, my nono, got in the grocery business. Zarrella's Market, along with so many other Italian markets, served the Italian community in Fitchburg from the 20s up on through the 60s. That's my foundation, Zarrella's Market. My father, Mario, stayed in the grocery business. When the supermarket came along, the Italian market started to disappear. My father became a store manager at Tom's Food World, coincidentally owned by Tom Caravella, Kevin's grandfather. Italian tentacles everywhere, it's like calamari. Tom's Food World became a part of Victory Markets. More Italians. I go to work for my dad at Victory as a 15-year-old. My first boss, Zarrella. My second boss, Femino. My third boss, Diet Levy. Every once in a while, one of the DiGeronimos would walk in the store. I'm still in high school and I'm thinking Italians must run the business world. I'm in high school and I'm going to ask you to allow me one more tangent. Mixed marriages. Back in the old day, I understand a Northern Italian marrying a Sicilian. That's a no good. An Italian married an Irish or French, even more no good. Okay, so I'm a sophomore in high school and I fall in love. Just like Michael Corleone when he was living in Sicily, I get hit by the thunderbolt. 16 years old. This was a one-sided thunderbolt. She must have broken up with me 10 times over the next few years. And, unfortunately for me, her last name didn't even come close to ending in a vowel. Wasn't even Irish or French. Elsevich. Polish. My parents thought I was nuts to be in love at such a young age, and the girl shortly. She was a Polish girl, she couldn't help herself. She breaks up one more time with me as I'm heading off to college, and now I'm done. Mom, Dad, you can be happy now. I'm not marrying the Polish girl. No, I fall for a pretty little 4'9" Jewish girl. And before you know it, she's talking to me about marriage. All of a sudden, the family thinks the Polish girl wasn't so bad after all. I could have had a brood of midget wrestlers. Okay, the end of that tangent, the happy ending. The Polish girl turns out to actually be half Italian. Novellis and Salafias from Munster. Who knew? Only a quarter Polish and a quarter French. She comes to her senses, realizes what a fine young Italian boy she's letting slip through her fingers, and God bless me, it's the love story of my life. I hope that was an okay way to end the story. My first job out of college, Decision Research Corporation. My boss there, Martha Messina, She married an Irish guy named Landrigan, but that doesn't help my story. Marty takes an instant liking to me. The vowel at the end of the name helped. She sponsors me on up the ladder. My next boss, David Volpe. Grandfather was an Italian grocer, I swear. Marty Messina leaves. She gets a new job at a consulting firm called Bain & Company in Boston to start up their marketing research practice. You may know Bain & Company is the firm that spawned Mitt Romney. She asked me to join her at Bain. Now my world's getting a little bigger. There's very few Italians at Bain. It's the Mormon Army. Dave Volpe, boss number 2 at Decision Research, now he goes off and he starts his own company, Italian entrepreneur. I get him some work through Bain, Italian patronage. Eventually he grows big enough that he asked me to join him as his partner. Dave and I form a partnership for about a year out in Woburn, but we turn out to be a lot better suited as friends than partners, and I decide to strike off on my own. And Research Results is born on Pearl Harbor Day in 1987. I start the company out of my parents' basement. What good Italian doesn't somehow keep one foot in the homestead? My insurance guy, Andicio. My finance guy, Ziza. My banker, Piamarini. Now I have to go find some clients, so I reach out to some of my contacts in the industry. My first clients, Jim Fazio and Steve Graziano. My second client, Jim Vaccaro. Somehow he's related to Foster Furcolo, who was governor back in the 50s. My third client, Pat Baldassare, and a couple of non-Italians, but they didn't last. Client number 6, Joanne Capolino. If I could have just gotten along with the non-Italians, I'd be retired not a long time ago. You'd be surprised to hear that my first employees were 2 cousins, a sister-in-law, my sister, another sister-in-law. From the first day up through today, my delivery guy was and is my father. When a client came to town, my limo service to the airport was my Uncle Pasquale. No client ever arrived up at the door of the office without a chuckle after the ride back to the airport with Uncle Pat. Through 25 years we've been in business. Not only is just about every family member, and I mean immediate, extended, even by Italian standards, just about every family member had some role in our success at one time or another. Also, through these 25 years, some of the most prominent roles in the company have been filled by people who go back 45 years with me to St. Anthony's School. Good Italians, every one of them. We joke around with candidates when they're interviewing that Research Results is very much like the mafia. Once you're in, you're never out. All right, so you heard my advertisement for Research Results. How does this fit back into that whole for dummies bookmaking scheme? Remember that Emerson quote, "An institution is the length and shadow of one man." In this instance, this is John Zarrella telling you of his business journey, but under the length and shadow of mio nonno, John Zarrella. Chapter 1. We're only going to do 2 chapters, I promise. Work ethic. Whether grocers, laborers, tailors, shoemakers, what story do you hear that doesn't in some way relate back to the overwhelming work ethic they brought with them? 6 days a week, morning until late night, Zarrella's market was a family affair. Norno butchers the meat. Nonna prepares the food. The boys do the deliveries. Aunt Gloria and Uncle Larry box up the deliveries. There were no vacations. Sick days? This wasn't just the Zarrellas. This was the entire generation, the entire culture. And it was passed down. I think back to my youth and my father. He stayed in the grocery business. 7 o'clock every morning he left the house. Mondays through Wednesday he came home at 6 if we were lucky. Thursdays and Fridays at 10 o'clock at night. Saturdays, 7 to 7. 60, 70, maybe 80 hours a week. I can't remember a single sick day when I was a kid, and yet he still managed to be there for everything in mine and my sister's lives. Same thing with my mother. She held down 2 jobs and we never felt like we wanted for anything. Do you think I was ever going to let one of my competitors outwork me in business? Life's lesson, business lesson for me. My clients may have never had the brightest guy to handle their work, but no one was going to outwork us. That goes a long way to establishing trust and relationships. Next chapter. Focus on others, or in business we'd say customer focus. In most cases, these were not well-educated people, but intelligent people with fortitude. My grandmother learned to read by listening in the background while her father taught her brothers to read over in Italy. Whatever their circumstance in leaving Italy, when they got here, for many of them alone, they had to be creative. They had to be adaptive. They had to have fortitude and faith. Many of them buried a child or more than one child. In the case of these market owners, they had to have some innate business sense. A family member told me recently when we were talking about my grandfather, you know, he was a hard-working, generous, and fair man. I'm not sure how strong of a businessman he was, though. I always thought he might have been too easy to be a good businessman. I couldn't help but smile when I heard this. So many times over the past 25 years, I've heard, John, you're way too easy. Be tougher. You've got to charge more. Or cut this client off. Don't do any more work for them if they aren't paying fast enough. I have one business skill, that's it. I'm an expert at one thing. I can build a relationship with a client that will last for years. I make every client feel like they're my one and only client. How many of you have heard stories of these Italian merchants who carry credit for their customers through the tougher times? Or who looked the other way when that same person who they were carrying credit on walked down the other side of the street to go into one of the other markets when they maybe didn't have an outstanding debt with them? Were they bad businessmen for not trying harder to collect? Or did they understand compassion and loyalty and pride, and maybe empathize with the plights of some of these people who might have been in tough times? Remember some of the context here. We're talking depression and war, and times that would challenge anyone's patience. Were they soft when they would yield to a difficult customer who was maybe trying to get a deal? I'll tell you right now, the best business role model that I've ever had, and his business acumen probably came from my grandfather, was my own father. I watched my dad, and I learned. The customer is always right. My staff will tell you, they hear it from me constantly. The customer is always right, even when they're not. Does that make us soft? Or does that help us to craft relationships that go on for years? That's a great business lesson to me, and it's an even better life lesson. I'm going to close again. An institution is the lengthened shadow of one man. Tonight I had the privilege of speaking to you about some personal experiences in business and how I see that ties back to my Italian heritage through John Zarrella, my grandfather. This talk could have been given by any number of my generation. Tony Mercadante could have talked in much the same vein about what he learned from his dad and from his grandparents. Kevin Caravella could have been here to talk about how his attitudes and business sense was shaped by what he learned from Anna Carboni, or what he knew from Tom Caravella. Steve Champa, David Cicino, any one of the DiGironimos. I could have easily shifted my focus and spoken just as long, about the lessons learned from my other grandparents, the Salonas, that Italian love of the land. So many others of my generation who could be here to talk about why they are where they are, or know what they know, through what they gleaned from their heritage. My generation is in some ways the end of a bridge. If you take our Italian heritage, it was that first generation. My grandparents, for many of you, your parents, they started building this bridge. And then came that second generation, what Tom Brokaw dubbed the greatest generations, which is one of the greatest descriptions I've ever heard. If my grandparents' generation taught work ethic, self-sacrifice, family values, loyalty, pride of heritage, but also pride in what they had in the New World, pride in their Americanism, they go down as some of the greatest teachers the world has ever known. Because boy, did that greatest generation get it. The greatest generation, that's the middle of the bridge, the longest span and one hell of an Italian engineering marvel. And then there's my generation, in some ways the end of the bridge. We carry forth the heritage. There are some who are actively carrying on the traditions. Christmas Eve is still the 7 fishes, and 3 generations from now they'll still know the secret family recipes with biscotti. And maybe somebody in the family will still be making sausages and taking out the anisette every time somebody walks through the door. Then there's those who are passively carrying on the tradition. They'll still go to Nana's house and they'll have fond memories of their youth, but maybe there's a dilution of the heritage. Those damn mixed marriages. And that's fine. But some of the traditions and customs may be lost to time. And then there's what I call very warmly the Ginzo wannabes. That's the group that sees their Italian heritage through the romanticized eyes of The Godfather, or they want to be Tony Soprano. The Ginzo wannabe puts on his Ginzo suit, and he's got 8 gold chains, and he slicks back his hair, and he names his kid Rocco or Guido, and he still thinks it's 1945. But it doesn't matter which generation, which group my generation falls into. The bottom line is this. The bridge got built. And it's not back to Italy. It starts right here in this country. For me, I can look across and I can see the lengthened shadow of John and Angelina Zarrella, or Francesco and Anna Chilona, cast across from that other side of the bridge. And I can look in the middle and I can see Mario and Grace Zarrella, holding up far more of a stand on the bridge than they ever realized. There's all the aunts and uncles from that generation, each imparting in some way their own sense of the heritage. And then here on my side of the bridge, I can see my beautiful wife and my 2 beautiful sisters, all of my cousins, my St. Anthony school classmates, all of my generation, who owe such a debt of gratitude. And then there's that very lucky next generation, my boys and their families. Only I could just convince my son and his wife to hurry the heck up and give us grandkids. My nieces and my nephews. If they choose to, they can go back and forth across the bridge because it's a damn strong bridge. And they can use it and learn from it every time they go across it, and God willing, always keep it in use. The shadows of those that helped us to define our Italian heritage alone, and each of you has your own images and memories of those from your own life who cast those shadows. One more quote. Italian immigrant families, grocers, proprietors, and entrepreneurs. Written by Joseph Macaluso. Oh yeah, I have a client named Macaluso too. From the forward of the book. This story is one of immigration, survival, success, and empowerment. It's hard to imagine in the 21st century, but there was a time when Italian immigrants were as despised and hated as any minority group. Everything about them was foreign. Their language, food, customs, culture, brand of Catholicism, dress, looks, sometimes even skin tone were different. These immigrants were looked on with disdain. These people came here with blind courage, no idea what was waiting for them, and look at what they accomplished. And of course, I've lost my last page. It doesn't matter what the name was. It doesn't matter whether it was Adante, or Lelli, or Volpi, or Pacetti, or whatever the Italian name was. If I started naming the Italian markets, we'd be here all night. Levanti, any one of those names, Giordoni, anyone that touched our lives and touched all of our Italian heritage. You've honored me by asking me to speak to you tonight. A million thank yous. God bless you all, and God bless the Italian heritage. Thank you.